Welcome to the NZ Travel Show, an interactive show where you can ask your NZ travel questions to the experts behind nzpocketguide.com, New Zealand's largest travel guide. The NZ Travel Show will start in exactly 2 minutes. Just the time for you to hit the like button, ring the notification bell, and subscribe if you have not done so yet. NZPocketGuide.com has over 3,000 articles covering all aspects of travelling in New Zealand, from a working holiday gap year to tips for a perfect family holiday. The site also features dozens of pre-made itineraries that you can use to plan your ideal trip in New Zealand. It's all available for free at nzpocketguide.com, so check it out. The NZ Travel Show is hosted by Robin, the Operations Manager of South Pacific Pocket Guide, the company behind nzpocketguide.com. The New Zealand Travel Show is also hosted by Laura, a journalist and editor-in-chief of South Pacific Pocket Guide and all its publications, including nzpocketguide.com. We're exactly 1 minute away from the NZ Travel Show. Get yourself comfortable and start asking your NZ travel questions in the chat. Robin and Laura will go over them when the show starts. In 30 seconds, our experts will be live from New Zealand to give you all the practical New Zealand travel tips you need, from the best transport options to the best accommodations and activities to choose for the perfect New Zealand holiday. Live from New Zealand, this is the NZ Travel Show with your travel experts, Robin and Laura.
Good morning, everybody. It is Sunday, the 23rd of July, 2023, and this is the NZ Travel Show. It's 8 a.m. right here in New Zealand, bright, early, and very, very crisp and cold. I think this week's theme is very apt. I'm gonna just say that. Woo! It is cold in New Zealand at the moment. Okay, we've got a lot of people in the chat, which is awesome. Who's there first?
We have Cherie saying, good morning, guys. Good morning, Cherie.
How are you doing, Cherie? Nice to have you on board. We have Big Dealer in the house, the man himself, the guy that helped me set out this virtual studio, this OBS whatever thingy. Thank you very much, mate.
Streaming software.
Yes,
specialist.
This one thing. Anyway, he's awesome. Check out his channel as well if you want to learn more about beautiful South America, where I bet it's much warmer than it is right now in New Zealand. Adil is here saying kia ora, Robin, Laura, and all the viewers. Kia ora, Adil. Thank you for using the proper terminology. I like it. Charlie's here.
Charlie says, morning. Good morning, Charlie. Adil says, I would like to know if the other South Pacific islands, which you have travel guides for, also require one to fill out the passenger arrival form before going there. Yes, every single South Pacific island that we cover with our travel guides, which includes the country of Tonga, Fiji, Niue, Samoa, and the Cook Islands, they all require you to also fill out a passenger arrival card when you are...
They're a little bit different, and actually they're much shorter as well. Can you guys hear us, by the way? Okay, Big Dealer now says can hear us. Adil was saying there's no sound. There is sound on our side. All the status lights are green on my side, so yeah, if you guys can let us know if you can hear us, that would be great. Anyway, sorry to cut you. Just, you know, if the sound doesn't work.
Yeah, there's no point in me talking. Yeah, so are we
yeah, let's
now?
move on. Yeah.
Cool.
Vela, I don't think we've had you here. That's awesome to have you on board, saying hello from the UK.
Ooh.
Send us the heat. I know you guys are dealing with some extreme heat over there.
We would like some of that sort of Europe nice warm weather right now.
Yeah, this climate change, which was supposed to be a hoax, is definitely not a hoax, mate. It's all over the place. And that is crazy. Dinesh is here saying good morning. How are you doing, Dinesh? Thank you, Big Delay in the house, for telling me the sound is working fine. I appreciate you. Stan says, good morning, guys. Watching from Auckland. Oh, nice one. So we're in the same island. That's pretty good. How cold are you? Because it is chilly right here.
I bet it's warmer in Auckland than it currently is in the central North Island right now.
Right by the mountain, it's always cold, though, isn't it? Charlie says, what province in North Island has the most typical tropical scenery? So that's mostly going to be the Northlands area, I'd say. They have some more kind of like subtropical kind of rainforest. It's not really going to be your tropical kind of island style like Fijian or Samoan kind of rainforest, but it's going to be a little bit more subtropical with much more fern, much more punga, which are like those fern palm trees.
Yeah.
So yes, that would be kind of like where you would be able to get those kind of sceneries. Plus, you have some amazing sand dunes as well. If you start making your way all the way to Cape Reinga, which is kind of cool, you get this golden kind of like really cool. Really cool kind of sandy and duny area. And you can also head to Pahia, the Bay of Island. Beautiful, 144 different islands over there with dolphins and all that, so that can give you a little bit this island vibe.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously nothing is going to beat your Samoan holiday or your Cook Island holiday, right?
Right. Also, I think another thing I'd like to add to that list is the Abel Tasman National Park, although that's
very good.
In the South Island. It is very much a sort of golden sand, beachy scenery over there. And also...
So, to not answer your question, Charlie, on the South Island.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, true. I was actually just about to say also, like, Stewart Island can look pretty tropical. Not feel tropical whatsoever, but it does have some just like empty beaches with really crystal clear water and stuff like that. So yeah, that's not the North Island though. I realised I was getting off topic there.
Sherry says, I'm good, how are you guys? We're doing pretty awesome. He said, oh, how cold is it today? It's 2 degrees Celsius right now. Laura looks nice and toasty in her beanie. Well, you know, she dressed for the part. For
it is the winter special. It's the last month of winter here in New Zealand. So, you know, I thought I'd celebrate by looking the part.
We also have Shoniwa, which has been a while. I think you're moving to New Zealand soon, right? What is Shoniwa saying?
Says, hi guys from Walvis Bay in Namibia. Only 3 weeks until our big move to Whakatane.
Here you go.
Nice.
Adil said the sound is back. Big delay in the house. Tell me they can hear me. That's awesome. And Lawrence is here all the way from beautiful Boston, saying hello everybody in the chat. That's awesome.
Hello, Lawrence.
How are you doing, Lawrence?
We were just watching the Boston Strangler movie last night. I mean, probably there's more things to do in Boston than reminisce about Stranglers, but yeah. Just a quick connection
Thought
there.
about you, Lawrence.
Yeah.
All right, so Vela says, I have a job offer to move from the UK to Wellington, and the salary is 78k. I would like to know if for a single person it's a good salary living on your own. Yeah, so if you were to consider like minimum wage in New Zealand, you know, if you want to compare, sometimes you kind of use a base and you kind of see how high above or not you are. So minimum wage in New Zealand would be around 56k, right? So you're at 78, so you're significantly higher than that. You know, you're about a quarter, like 25% more, which is pretty good. That said, Wellington is a very expensive city, so you may want to choose to actually live or rent a place somewhere in one of the more outer suburbs, because within the city centre, Wellington being the capital city, it is extremely expensive to rent in there. But that says 78k is a very reasonable amount of money to earn in New Zealand, and yeah, I think you'll do very well. So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Sherry says 4 degrees, and Lawrence is finding your movie choices very cheery.
Yes, it was very cheery.
Yes,
it really wasn't.
I may have to steer Laura to something a little bit more cheery. All right, everybody, as you continue with your questions, so again, the way this live show works, right, is that you guys and girls can ask us all your questions about traveling in New Zealand. Anything to do with traveling in New Zealand, go nuts, we're here for you. And as we are kind of waiting for more of your questions, we have a bit of a theme of the day, and we're going to be talking about that a little bit as, you know, in intermittence, right? So what we're going to be doing right now is that we're going to get started with the theme of the week. Alright, so Laura dressed up for the parts for sure. She dressed up in a winter outfit because today we are talking about the weather and the climate and everything you need to know about traveling in New Zealand in August, which is the last month of winter. So most people try to avoid traveling New Zealand in winter because, well, they hear about the very cold temperature. But because it is the low season, you get many benefits of traveling in New Zealand in winter, especially in August, with cheaper rental price, cheaper accommodation price, sometimes cheaper activity prices, and on top of that you get the whole country to yourself, and the sceneries of New Zealand, especially in the South Island, are all the better for winter because you have snow-capped mountain sceneries all around. How wonderful. So if you are planning to have a mind-blowing adventure in New Zealand in August, today is the day where you're going to learn everything about the weather. So without further ado, let's get started. But before that, actually, Villa says, thank you, you are awesome and very helpful. Hey, I like that, my friend. That's really nice. Feel free to hit any of the fancy buttons at the bottom of the video. That usually helps us quite a lot. And then Charlie says it's 2 degrees here in Taranaki. Oh, we are 1 degree warmer. You see, stop complaining.
Yeah.
You're 1 degree warmer than Taranaki right here. So
okay.
here you go.
Yeah, maybe I should
can't
stop
complain
complaining.
anymore. That's it. You're not cold. You're not cold. Taranaki's colder. And I bet there's a couple of penguins in Antarctica that would actually disagree, since we talked about Antarctica a couple of weeks ago.
But I'm not a penguin. They're built for that.
Charlie says, I'm traveling to Tauranga in late August. Should I bring togs or is it too early for that?
maybe a tad too early. Just a little bit. I mean, it depends how tough your skin is, but...
Also,
yeah.
if you guys don't know, togs in Kiwi language is basically swimwear. Yeah, so yeah, it's usually men's swimwear, like those shorts.
It's any swimwear.
Would you say togs for women?
Yeah,
Okay.
bring your togs is just swimwear.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, so beautiful people of the internet, here's what's going to happen right now. Laura is going to tell you 5 tips for traveling in New Zealand in August before we talk about the weather. Let's get started.
Okay, our first tip for travelling in August is that August is the low season in New Zealand, which means that you don't tend to need to book too far ahead when it comes to accommodations and activities as you're travelling around. However, that rule doesn't really apply to the towns which have ski fields, so like the ski season towns like Queenstown or Methven on the South Island or Oakune on the North Island, for instance. Those towns are usually pretty fully booked during this time in August, so they're the few exceptions to the rule. But generally, low season means you can travel a little bit more spontaneously. Next up, make sure that you check the road updates before you head out on a road trip. Sometimes in the more mountainous regions of New Zealand, whether there can be snow on the mountain passes, for instance, so just check up on the New Zealand Transport Agency website for any sort of road updates before you set out. Next up, if you are hitting the ski fields, make sure that you don't forget your sunscreen, which seems pretty crazy, but during this time of the year, there are some really great sunny days as well when you're up there in the mountains. So, but that UV rays are intensified when they're reflecting off the snow, so make sure that, yeah, even though it's winter, still slap on the sunscreen, especially if you're going to higher altitudes. Next up, if you are planning on doing some weather-dependent activities, which could mean doing perhaps heli hiking in Franz Josef or Mount Cook, doing some scenic flights, or even in some places that are still open for whitewater rafting, like in on the Tongariro River, for instance, that sort of thing. If these weather-dependent activities, if you are doing those sort of activities, make sure you plan maybe a couple of days for rescheduling in those areas, just in case they do get cancelled. And then finally, make sure to pack some extra wool layers, so it's usually
it just gets you warmer, basically, right?
Yeah.
So polypropylene and merino wools are 2 materials which are perfect for underlayer, for thermal layers, right? And they're the best kind of outfit to have in New Zealand. As the weather is so changing, what you may want to do is to have a couple of those underlayers always at the ready that you can put on, and then all you need is actually a windbreak, like a rain jacket, for example. that Laura was talking about. And so it's a really good combination for when you're traveling in New Zealand in winter to keep yourself warm.
I even have some on now.
Exactly. All right, so we are going to go back to live chat and then we'll get back to the New Zealand weather in August. All right, so we have Sherry. She says, have you guys done the zip line with the treetop walk in Hokitika? Is it good? We've done the treetop walk. We haven't done the zip line over there.
The zip line only just opened this year,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it is a new zip line. So yeah, we haven't had a chance to check it out yet.
That said, I got the marketing manager to actually strap on the camera and actually do it for me so I could see it because we didn't have time to get down there. And it looks really, really fun. So yeah. It's actually a pretty cool place to visit, and the treetop walkway itself is absolutely fantastic. It's definitely worth checking out for sure. It's just really cool to have such a different vantage viewpoint onto the New Zealand. I just think it's one of the most unique kind of forest experience you can have in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And just because of that, I really do like it. I think it's really, really cool.
Yeah, and we do have a video on the channel of us visiting the treetop walkway. It was before the zip line was introduced, but the treetop walkway is still there and available to do, and you can still go up this really huge tower to get an even higher vantage point. So yeah, check out the video and see for yourself what you think it will be like.
It's cool. It's really cool, yeah. And you'll get to see a lot of New Zealand native birds, while you do that, which is a very good segue to next week's theme, which is going to be 20 amazing native birds of New Zealand.
Oh,
so here you go. We'll talk about little pew-pew birdies. That's a technical term.
Is it just birds or is it
just
animals
birds.
as well?
I think we're just going to do just bird next week.
Yeah.
Is that cool with you?
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, I know you like birds, so I was like,
I can talk about birds all day.
Yeah, here you go. All right, that was that. All right, beautiful people of the internet. Shall we continue with our theme of the week?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much.
I didn't realize I was the people of the internet, but I kind of felt like you were waiting for a reply. So.
Okay, so what's happening? Oh yeah, this. There you go. Are you guys ready? All right. So let's begin with the typical temperature in New Zealand in August. That is not happening well. Wow, what's going on right here? Something's wrong. Yeah, I know. All right, so let's begin with the typical temperature in New Zealand in August. Being the last month of summer, August is one of the coldest months in New Zealand, and you will find that the temperature are slightly different all around the country. So let's go over them one by one. So we'll begin with northern New Zealand, which is northern Auckland and Tauranga, with an average of about 12 degrees Celsius during the day in August, which is 53 degrees Fahrenheit for the Freedom Unit users. Central North Island is Hamilton, Taupo and Rotorua, an average of 8 degrees Celsius, which is 46 degrees Fahrenheit. If we move on to the southwest North Island, sorry, this one's a mouthful, that's New Plymouth, Palmerston North and Wellington, 9 degrees Celsius, which is 48 degrees Fahrenheit. In eastern North Island, we have Gisborne, Napier and Wairarapa. That's where you go get the good wine in New Zealand. And that's an average of 10 degrees Celsius, which is 50 degrees Fahrenheit. I'd go for some mulled wine right now.
Oh, yes.
Ooh. All right. Then we're going to go to the South Islands. In northern South Island, we have Blenheim and Nelson, and that's 9 degrees Celsius, which is 48 degrees Fahrenheit. Again, those are the daytime average temperature for the region. In western South Island, we have Westport, Hokitika, home of the West Coast Treetop Walkway, and Milford Sound. The average is between 6 and 9 degrees Celsius, which is between 42 to 48 degrees Fahrenheit. In eastern South Island, which is Kaikoura, Christchurch and Timaru, we have an average of 7 degrees Celsius, which is 45 degrees Fahrenheit. Inland South Island, Lake Tekapo, Queenstown and Alexandra, you can expect 4 to 6 degrees Celsius, which is 39 to 42 degrees Fahrenheit. And finally, let's wrap that up with southern New Zealand, which is Dunedin, Invercargill, and that is going to be about 7 degrees Celsius, which is 45 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, let's wrap that up and get back to the live chat. Here. Okay, so Lauren says, are things any different for you guys with the World Cup? Not really, I'll be honest with you. It's, well, even like in the news and everything, it doesn't even make a big dent in the news, right? So so what Lawrence is referring to is the Women FIFA World Cup currently happening in New Zealand. Yeah, it's really, I mean, yeah, the probably the city centre are a little bit more busy. That's what I would say. But other than that, I think, I mean, it really hasn't changed for us greater New Zealand, you know?
I kind of feel like
Not greater, but greater, like larger.
I felt like we heard more when the Rugby World Cup was happening. The Women's Rugby World Cup happened, was that earlier this year?
Last year.
Or last year. So, yeah, I felt like there was a lot more buzz around that, but I also think that rugby in New Zealand in general is a sport that people get more excited about than football or soccer. So,
Are you
yeah.
able to pass me a tissue, Alice? That's okay with
Yeah.
you. Sherry says, I can't wait for the birds show. I'll
The
definitely
bird
be
show?
on the lookout for some New Zealand birds on my trip.
Yes.
The
There'll
World
be
Famous Bird
plenty.
Show.
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of opportunity to see lots of amazing birds in New Zealand. And even if you are not a bird fan before going to New Zealand, weirdly, this country just turns you into a bird nerd. It has that effect on people.
Bird nerd. I like the title, bird nerd.
Bird nerd.
I like it. Vela says, in Europe it is boiling and in the UK it is raining a lot right now. Isn't it always raining in the UK?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like
I can attest to that.
we will talk about the rainy, average rainfalls in August in New Zealand in just a moment, actually, Vela. So, well, you'll be able to compare your summer in the UK to our winter in New Zealand and see how that one fares. Also, by the way, just a quick something right here. If you guys want more from us, if you want more support, more help, you can join us on Patreon. There's a link in the description below, and you get plenty of perks, including our help, access to a secret Facebook group, and all that. So, yeah, if you want some more support as you are planning a trip to New Zealand or a move to New Zealand, we're here for you. There is plenty of help to be found on Patreon for only a few bucks a month. How is summer in Wellington? Summer in Wellington is quite nice. It's obviously a very, very windy city, right? It's the windiest city in the world, right? So it's extremely windy. But aside from that, you know, the weather are usually quite good. We do have this kind of video about every single different month. So you may want to check out the summer months, which are December, January and February. Those are the 3 summer months in New Zealand, so you may want to check out those videos that we have. We don't have December yet because we started this series literally this year.
At the beginning of the year.
But yeah, we have January. Yeah. So here you go.
We also have, if you want to search on nzpocketguide.com, we do have a weather in Wellington article. So we do have a
I will pop that out in a second.
Yeah.
Boom, boom.
Robin will put that up. So yeah, it's an article dedicated to the typical weather patterns in Wellington specifically, and a few extra tips there about what to wear, that sort of thing. So yeah, check that out, and that might prove useful to you as well. We seem to have very slow internet.
Yeah,
so,
I think it's because we're streaming at the same time.
Yeah.
Right now it's not doing so well, but we'll have to deal with that.
Yeah, but
it's coming. It's coming anytime now. But yeah, so yeah, the article is we only have one article like that for specific cities, for just Auckland, Queenstown, and Wellington, just which are the biggest. Oh, do we have
Christchurch as well?
Yeah, we have Christchurch as well. But yeah, it's just a bit of a guide to understand a bit more of the weather patterns in beautiful Wellington. Coming anytime soon now. Coming anytime soon.
Cherie says, I'm stopping in at Wellington on my way home. I'm not looking forward to the landing and takeoff with all that wind. Yeah, I've done some, like a very short sort of domestic flight once. Instead of taking the ferry from Wellington to Picton, I took a small flight from Wellington to Nelson. And that was in a really small plane with a really sort of windy, it was actually windy the whole way across. So it's just like the air hostess was like trying to give out like cookies and stuff to people while like sort of clambering around the plane, which is kind of funny. But yeah, I have experienced that for myself, but hopefully it's better for you, Cherie. Hopefully you've got maybe a bit of a bigger plane than the one I was in.
All right, so yeah, so Vela, I'm just putting the stuff on screen right now for you. So there is plenty of tips and stuff right here for you. So again, you go on NZ Pocket Guide, you type Wellington weather, and that should be the first result for you, my friends. Here you go, nzpocketguide.com. Okay, So, in the meantime, where were we at? What were we doing?
We're about to talk about the rainfall
Yeah, that's true,
in
that's
August in New Zealand.
Okay, so let's continue with our theme of the week and talk about the different rainfall and other weather patterns that you can expect in New Zealand in August. And no rising position. Boom. All right. So the other weather pattern that you can find in August are basically mostly rain, right? We're talking about the end of winter in New Zealand, and there's going to be a lot of rain, and you will have basically some of the highest rainfall in the whole year. So we're going to go again onto the map that Laura is next to, and we're going to go region by region and go over what kind of rainfalls you can expect. So, starting again with northern New Zealand, that's Northland, Auckland and Tauranga, you can expect about 150 millimeters, which is 5.5 inches. In central North Island, which is Hamilton, Rotorua and Taupo, 110 millimeters, which is 4.3 inches. In the southwest North Island, we have New Plymouth, Palmerston North and Wellington, beautiful capital city, 120 millimeters, which is 4.7 inches. In the eastern North Island, we have Gisborne, Napier and Wairarapa, that's 70 millimeters, which is 2.7 inches. In northern South Island, with changing islands now, taking the ferry, Blenheim and Nelson, we have 80 millimeters, which is 3 inches. We have western South Island, which is Westport, Hokitika and Milford Sound. That is a lot, 240 to 430 millimeters, so between 9.4 and 17 inches. The west coast is always the rainiest place in New Zealand. We also have the eastern South Island, Kaikoura, Christchurch and Timaru, 70 millimeters, which is 2.7 inches. Inland South Island, Lake Tekapo, Queenstown and Alexandra, it's 30 to 60 millimeters, so between 1 to 2.3 inches. This is the lowest amount of rainfall just because pretty much it's all snow. And at southern New Zealand, we have Dunedin, Invercargill, and that's 70 millimeters, which is 2.7 inches of rain in average in August. Boom! Laura's back!
What did I miss?
Vela says thank you with a big smiley face. I don't know to
You're
what,
welcome.
but you're
Maybe
welcome.
the suggestion of the weather article.
Oh yeah, go check it
for
out.
Wellington.
Sherry says I think I'll be in a normal international plane. Well, it's still gonna be a bit of a funky one, but yeah,
It might be fine.
yeah, you'll be fine.
Maybe you go, in the same direction as the wind, and it'll just be a nice, smooth, fast takeoff. Actually, we were watching the planes take off when we took the ferry last between Wellington and Picton. Like as you leave the Wellington harbour, you can actually see the planes taking off. Sort of like they take off over the harbour almost. So yeah, they seemed fine.
And so one of the videos I watched on the internet this week, which I didn't really enjoy so much, was not in New Zealand, but I saw a video of a plane attempting a landing, and because the wind was like making it move so much, literally like being on the tarmac, putting the wheels on, and then decided to take off right again because the pilot wasn't confident enough and was like maybe it's not going to go so well.
Ooh.
And so that was a bit of a scary video, but
That seems like a classic internet scaremongering video.
yeah, I didn't enjoy it so much, but also I was like, you know what, I feel like sometimes you must feel like that in Queenstown or Wellington, where the airport's a bit more gnarly,
Yeah, well, there is like a thing about Queenstown's airport because the runway is apparently smaller than average, and it is surrounded by mountains as well. There has been like a lot of sort of comments from pilots apparently saying how usually quite challenging it is to take off and land in Queenstown Airport.
It has a reputation of not being the most fun airport to land in as a pilot. But I guess some like Air New Zealand pilots, which do it really often and also fly a smaller plane than the large international one, probably are kind of like used to it and be like, it's
the
another
only
day in the
international
office.
flights that go into Queenstown are from Australia, so they're usually like not the biggest planes.
Yeah,
either.
they're not the A380,
No.
which I don't think could land in Queenstown.
Nah.
I mean, like, there are some amazing pilots. And sometimes when you watch, actually, one thing which is really interesting to search, if you guys are interested, is searching how they test planes. And so, like, you know, at the Airbus or the Boeing kind of factory, when they take the first flight with the plane, right, they don't do like the normal kind of takeoff. They just take off and then they go straight up, like super fast up, and they really kind of like put the airplane through their paces. And it's quite impressive to see some like really gigantic planes like the A380 just literally go like straight, like not really horizontal, but you know, like really like. And to just see those massive, like, yeah.
Why don't they do that all the time? Give the passengers a bit of a thrill ride.
Because I think you pay for transportation, not for a roller coaster. But I don't know. It's just me, right? I pay for my transportation. Also, you know, it's loaded with cargo. Just you know, people are holding a drink, all that thing.
Yeah.
What we did last time?
No one's holding a drink on takeoff. Come on.
Have you been to first class? You know?
No, I haven't. I haven't been to first class.
They get a little bubbly.
I'm usually in the paupers class, in the back.
No, I usually travel with the cattle.
Yeah, with the cargo, apparently.
Well, quite often our ticket ends up bringing us all the way at the back, so it feels like we're with the cargo sometimes.
Yeah,
eh?
it does.
Buying the cheap tickets is interesting. All right. So again, if you are new, if you're just joining the live show right now, we're here to answer all your questions about traveling in New Zealand. So if you do have any questions, anything to do with traveling in New Zealand, go ahead and put them within the live chat and we go over your question and answer it for you. But throughout this live show, as we're waiting for some questions, we are going to continue with our theme of the week. And this week we are talking about the the weather in New Zealand in August. And so, yeah. Next item on our agenda when covering the weather in New Zealand in August is to actually just kind of give you a bit more of an insight in what are the best places to visit in New Zealand in August, because, well, you know, there are some places which are significantly better than others. So let's begin with that. So one of the great things about traveling in New Zealand in August is the fact that you'll be able to find pretty much all different type of climates to suit your trip. As you saw just before when we were talking about the different temperature, there is a wide range of temperatures right here. But which means that you'll be able to experience the epic ski fields of New Zealand, which you definitely cannot do all year round, but you still get to experience the all year round activities such as the hot pools and the mountainous landscapes, but you can experience them with much less tourists around you. So with that in mind, we have selected a few places that we recommend you visit in August, and Laura is going to get us going.
Yeah, so one really cool place to visit during August, which is in winter, is Wanaka, because Wanaka has proximity to really popular ski fields, Cardrona and Treblecone. And yeah, so that's the nearest town to those two ski fields, and Treblecone is the largest ski field on the South Island. So yeah, if you want to have that sort of big ski field experience that's in New Zealand, then that would be a good place to go.
Alright, so I'm going to do an opposite thing right here, and I'm going to send you to Pahia. So Pahia is in the Bay of Islands, or kind of almost all the way to the top of the North Island. And it is where you're going to get the warmest climate, and you're going to get plenty of coastline activities, which are still going to be opened in August, despite the fact that it's going to be winter. So if you want to do this summer escape from the New Zealand winter, well, that's the place you want to head to.
Next up, try going to Rotorua, which is a really fabulous place to see during winter, where you can see its geothermal activity much more visible as you see hot steam rising into the cold air. There's lots of different geothermal parks to discover around the area, and there's also lots of hot pools. So if you are feeling a little bit chilly, then you can always warm yourself up in some nice natural geothermal hot pools.
Well, speaking of hot pools, Hanmer Springs is a fantastic place to visit in the South Island of New Zealand in August. Hanmer Springs is famous for its hot pool complex, of course, but there is also local ski fields, and there are snowfalls literally within the town. It's one of those small towns when you can actually have those kind of hot pools experience, but literally be able to walk amongst the snow, which is not many of the places. Quite often in New Zealand, the snow towns are located much lower than the ski field themselves, and so it's not often that you get snow-covered snow towns in New Zealand. All right, what's next?
Finally, we would like to recommend the Coromandel. So the Coromandel Peninsula, which is quite close to Auckland, is usually packed in summer. So if you want to experience it during a much quieter time, but while the weather is still actually pretty decent, especially for the winter in New Zealand, it will have one of the warmest climates. of the country during this time, then yeah, August is a great time to experience the Coromandel, take a look at some of its amazing beaches, do some hiking in the hills, as well as in amazing kauri forests, which are full of some of the largest types of trees in New Zealand. It's just a cool place to hang out.
All right, so that wraps up our suggestions of places to visit in August. Next up, we'll talk about a packing list. Okay, what is Vela saying?
Vela is saying, what is the pension scheme in New Zealand? In the UK, we have private and state pension that is paid half from the employee and half from the employer. Sorry for lots of questions. That's okay.
What do you know about pension schemes in New Zealand?
I actually do know something about pension schemes
I know
in New
very
Zealand.
little about it. I don't know. I don't really care.
So this actually does apply to anyone that is taking a job in New Zealand. You do have the option to opt into what is called a Kiwi Saver. So that is where you opt to put a percentage of your wages into basically a fund which will act as your pension later in life if you do decide to stay in New Zealand. It's obviously not something that we recommend to people that are coming here on a working holiday or just coming here to work temporarily for a year or two. It's definitely not there'd be no reason to opt in on it, but it is an option for those who want, who are thinking long term, who want to actually stay in New Zealand. There is a Kiwi Saver which is open to anyone that is working in New Zealand. So yeah, look into that, and that is the pension scheme for New Zealand.
All right. I don't know. I don't do these kind of things. I think, yeah, those kind of financial services will collapse well before you get to withdraw from it.
Admittedly, it's not. Yeah, obviously, look at all your options.
Yeah.
Admittedly, it's.
We're not financial advice. Oh, by the way, we actually legally have to say that if we answer these kind of questions.
Yeah.
We are not licensed financial advisor, and you should seek your own advice for any of those kind of questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot where to say these things, but yeah. There's a couple of legal things we have to say when we talk about immigrations or when we talk about financial stuff. But yeah, look into it, see what's what. And yeah, make your own informed choice. Sherry said that sounds similar to superannuation here. Yeah, so it's the same thing it's the same thing than superannuation in Australia, right? And as a backpacker, which I was in Australia and I was in New Zealand when I arrived first, you kind of get auto opt in to all those kind of things, and then you can opt out later on if you want to opt out of it. But yeah, it's a similar kind of scheme. Matua X says
Morena. What does Morena mean, Robin? Got there first.
Yes, Morena means good morning in Maori, which is the local indigenous language.
And he says, I'm listening while running. I'm heading home. Oh,
What?
I hope this is good motivation for your run.
You should listen to music, mate. What's going on?
Let's do like a beat to like keep him going.
What, so you think the beat of Laura's voice talking about Kiwi Saver is not something motivating enough for when you do your run?
Come on, run! Get your pension! Get your pension! Get your pension!
Oh my god. So yeah, but I think you also get like a little bit of pension as well from the government as well.
Possibly.
Like, yeah, I think there is some stuff like that as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
you probably will have to do more of your own research on that, Villa. We obviously mostly talk about tourism here, things to do, beautiful life in New Zealand, the enjoyment of life in here, more than that. Okay, speaking of awesome things to do here, today, this week we have a video about the Blue Bridge Ferry coming up on the channel, which is going to be quite exciting. And last week, we published a video that I did really like and did very, very poorly, which I'm very sad about.
Typical.
So it's always that nice, isn't it? Like every time it's a video that I enjoy, and then I realize like it does really, really poorly. So if you guys are interested in that, you guys may want to check out the best movie locations to visit in New Zealand. I really did enjoy this video, and I think it deserved a little bit more love. So here you go. Go give it a thumbs up or some stuff like that if you guys are so inclined to do that at any point. All right. What is Matua X having to say, Laura?
He says, have to keep the fitness going so I can referee.
Oh,
yes.
yeah. If you guys don't know, so Matua X is one of our awesome Patreon supporter, and he is a rugby referee, especially during the weekends, right? So even in winter when it's freezing cold, he's got to run and stay in shape.
Yeah.
In order to be able to keep up with all the rugby players. Because
Is it the rugby season right now?
no, it's not.
I thought it was usually in winter. Maybe it's a bit later.
Yeah, I think it starts later.
When does the rugby season start, Mature X? Let us know.
It's too cold to play rugby right now. And
Yeah,
right
but
now,
that usually that's when they play
right now
rugby.
the ladies are playing soccer, so it's the FIFA Soccer World Cup right now. So they're busy, you know. Ooh, they must have
sucks to
loved
be
it.
them.
That must have been fun to say the word soccer right here.
Yeah.
Whoopsie. All right, so we'll continue with our coverage of the weather in New Zealand in August, and we're gonna kind of wrap this one up with a few suggestions of things you must pack when traveling in New Zealand in August. And for that, I'll pass you to the beautiful Laura.
Absolutely, the first thing that we recommend to pack for August is a beanie. So yeah, obviously keep your head warm. It's if you usually when people are traveling in New Zealand, it's to do a lot of outdoor activities. So yeah, any extra sort of accessories like beanies, and the next thing on our list is going to be scarf or a buff, something to keep your neck warm is highly recommended. Especially if you're going to be spending quite a lot of time outside, which typically is what happens when you're traveling around New Zealand. Another thing to make sure that you have in August, but at any time of the year in New Zealand, is a rain jacket. It's the weather is on and off all the time, changing all the time, so having a rain jacket handy, even just in your day pack, available there, it's a really good way to make sure that you don't get soaked through if it does start raining. Usually it's better to have a rain jacket in New Zealand compared to an umbrella, because usually the wind and umbrellas don't really mix. Next up, make sure that you do pack some thermal layers. So usually wool layers is a really good option. Merino wool is kind of what they sort of is highly available in New Zealand, but there's different thermal layer materials that you can get overseas. So yeah, just having these extra underlayers is highly recommended, and things like merino wool are very breathable as well, so you tend to find that you don't need to keep taking them off and putting them back on again, but you do have the option to do that when you are packing with layers in mind. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Some extra thermal layers is definitely a must do for August. Next up are some mid layers. So we're talking more about, some hoodies, or, basically the stuff that we're wearing now is like an extra jumper to put on top of your thermal layers. That is the layer that you can take on and off if you get too hot, and it provides you with much more extra warmth if you need it, which most likely will be that you will. So mid layers, definitely make sure you pack a few of those in your suitcase or backpack. Next up, you'll want some waterproof hiking shoes or hiking boots, whatever your preference is, but make sure that they are waterproof because, like I say, it does rain on and off in New Zealand, so having soaked through shoes is never fun. A lot of the activities to do are, again, outside, doing either really short walks to see some beautiful landscapes or sights for sightseeing, but otherwise a lot of longer walks are really popular in New Zealand as well. So having a good pair of walking shoes that, if you are going to be on your feet all day, are going to be comfortable and, again, not soaked through because they're waterproof. And finally, make sure you have some woolen socks. So this kind of ties in with the waterproof hiking shoes. Woolen socks, if they do get wet, they tend to dry out much faster. They're also much warmer than cotton socks. So having nice snug feet is going to just make you just feel so much better than being all cold and miserable in your thinnest cotton layers. It tends to be when you are spending a lot of time outside. That's usually where the downer is if you're not well prepared with the correct materials that you're wearing. So definitely wool compared to cotton is definitely much more recommended for New Zealand.
All right, so that wraps up our coverage of the New Zealand weather in August. There is much more information on nzpocketguide.com. There is a link to an article specifically about the New Zealand weather in August in the description of this video. Make sure to hit like and subscribe. That's the thing that we're supposed to ask you guys to do. And in the meantime, enjoy New Zealand. All right, let's go back to the live chat. Joseph says, sorry guys for the immigration question, but I'm looking for information. I can't for this opportunity. New Zealand looks stunning. Guess I can't wait. Yeah, that's no problem at all. It's mostly something you may want to join Patreon and come and ask us on Patreon, where we have much more off-cuff discussions. It's all, it's private. It's more for that rather than this channel right here where it's more
Talking about travel.
travel
It's
and
more like
everything,
open public discussions.
Exactly, yeah. Matthew Alex is talking to you about Anthony says stay safe, but I'm here until the end. Almost kicking us out right here, 15 minutes early. I like it.
I feel like it hasn't been a while since Anthony's.
You were not here last week, are you?
I kind of feel like I've been missing those signature phrases that we rely on every week to know when it's time to start wrapping up the live show. So glad to have you around this week, Anthony.
Okay, so Matthew explains to you that the preseason started for the league about 3 weeks ago, and 1 week to go until the season starts for male and females. Male plays on Saturday and females plays on Sunday. Thank you very much for the in-depth.
You
did know. You do know everything, Laura.
I know, because I remember thinking, like, why is it always like the coldest time of the year that it gets started on rugby? But I guess it kind of beats being in the sweltering heat in summer. So yeah.
All right. This week, I ask you guys to vote on YouTube. I ask you guys to vote for what is the absolute worst food to order in a plane. So today's poll results comes out of 102 votes, which thank you very much to everybody that has voted.
That's a lot of votes.
I know. I decided to put that on the community tab on YouTube from now on because it just gets more vote than during the live session right here. So you had 4 different options. Coming last, something that people would order in a plane. 8% of people only find it the absolute worst. It's the omelette.
Yeah. If
you have a choice of an omelette in a plane, apparently 92% of you don't find it the worst. And you guys are good to go for omelette at 8%. So 8% was the least voted option. The next least voted option, we have eggs and beans breakfast at 16%. 16% of people chose eggs and beans breakfast as, the worst.
I mean, I guess the beans section is more of a disadvantage for your surrounding passengers.
Yeah, well, speaking of your surrounding passengers, and something that did prompt me to ask this question as the last time we took a plane, the only option available, thank you Air New Zealand, was the chili con carne pie. You guys voted that at 27%. It tasted horrible. It looked horrible. And it made the remainder of the flight absolutely preposterously horrible. Who would even want to serve that? Anyway, so...
Well, I was going to say...
Option number 2, sorry.
Oh, maybe we can tell the story after you've gone through all the options.
So that was the second voted option. So that was at 27% of you guys voted for chili con carne pie being the worst food available in the plane. But by far the biggest vote earners, the absolute worst food to order in a plane is the fish option. You guys voted the fish option at 49%. So stay off the fish option apparently. I don't know, give you back stomach.
Maybe, I was going to say, maybe it's like that's more likely to be some maybe dodgy cooking. You know, it's kind of been in the heated sort of trolley for maybe a little while. You know, you don't know the safety of the fish. I'm sure it was all usually cooked to some sort of food standards. I mean, I did used to work in an airline kitchen, guys.
That's true, you used to back in the days, yeah.
I know there are some safety standards involved when it comes to airline food, but I guess...
But yeah, those safety were putting you in charge of those.
Then again... fish is always a dodgy one.
Yeah, that's the dodgy one, yeah. But man, that chili con carne pie was the absolute worst. Okay, Anthony says, yes, he lost track on time and missed it. And Sherry says, I didn't see the poll. So yeah, so it's in the community tab. I will put a poll again this week. I don't know what is it going to be, but I just kind of have fun with it. So it's only if I come up with something that I find is silly enough to do it. I don't think it's going to be like something I'll do weekly, but it's just for the funnies. I thought it was kind of a fun thing to do. Sherry says, does Air New Zealand have nice food normally? I mean, it's airplane food.
Yeah, so...
The only ever good airplane food I've ever got was in Cathay Pacific. Yeah. They had really good food.
The only time where the food is like better than the usual is on like long haul flights. If you're on like say a 12-hour flight, if you're doing the stint from if you're doing the stint from Europe and taking like 2 12-hour flights to get to New Zealand, then that's when, like, usually they do a little bit more with the food, you know, they
Is it just because of your state of mind that you've been sitting for days? It's like the sweet relief of something to do.
I know, I do feel like they do put, like, there is a little bit more, slightly more effort put into those, but typically on short haul flights, and the same goes for Air New Zealand, the short haul flights meals are usually pretty disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, on the last flight that we did, it was 3.5 hours, right? On the way in, we got an egg burrito, but served. What they did is that they dosed the burrito
In oil.
Like literally, you could not hold the burrito because it was covered in oil. So it was like apparently like done for like, I don't know, fanciness or anything. It was just uneatable. It was, so you had to end up trying to eat a burrito with like a
bamboo knife and fork.
Yeah, those disposable like silverware. You had to try to cut a wrap in the tiny little. It was just like the person that designed that was not having a single thought as
how this would be eaten.
Yeah, how this can be eaten in a plane. It was absolutely ridiculous. And on the way back, there was this chili con carne pie incident, which, is ooh.
And the thing also to remember,
that was not good.
I'm not sure for you, Sherry, if this will be included on your flight with Air New Zealand from Australia to New Zealand, but usually on those short haul flights, you have to actually pay extra to get the food,
yes.
right? So usually if you're going on a standard
just
seat
want to
and
point
bag
out that,
ticket.
So that was the upgrade for that was $75.
Yeah.
Right? The premium on so you get a little bit more baggage allowance, but that's the premium on that was $75 for that dosed in oil burrito. I mean it's
so your normal
and access to some better movies.
Seat and bag ticket with Air New Zealand doesn't include food, which I don't think you should upgrade to get the food. Usually it's just like pack your own snacks or have a bit of food at the airport before flying. It's usually a better way to go than to rely on the food given by Air New Zealand, that's for sure.
Yeah.
She says that Qantas usually has pretty decent food from my experience, both on domestic and international.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't think I've really flown with Qantas much, so I can't
Probably took only a couple of flights when I flew to Auckland I did Auckland to Melbourne. So she says I have food included in my tickets and I didn't pay extra for it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so it depends of like the
length of the flight.
They do categories for flight tickets. So they do different categories for flight tickets. All right, so continuing with those poll little thingy that I did, I actually also just did a quiz as well, like the week before, and this one got 222 answers. That was quite interesting.
Ooh.
So I asked people very simply, what's New Zealand's largest lake? Very simple question, right? 71% of you guys got it right. It's Lake Taupo. It is 616 square kilometers, which is 238 square miles. And so, it's the largest lake by surface area of New Zealand. 12% of you thought it was Lake Tekapo. You were wrong. 9% of you guys thought it was Lake Wakatipu, which is the one right by Queenstown, and 8% of you thought it was Lake Wanaka. But hey, 71% of you guys were right. I'm really, really proud of all of you. You guys are all awesome. You make me so proud. That was really awesome.
You've learned so much about New Zealand. It's great. Sherry is also putting in a
quick Lake Taupo. Yeah, just typing
She's
in.
doing the quiz live with us right now. I appreciate that.
So all right. So that's going to slowly wrap it up for us today. Thank you very much for hanging out with us for this NZ Travel Show. We will have a Patreon show coming up in the next 5 minutes, and we're going to be driving all together from the beautiful Nelson Lakes all the way back to Picton, is that correct? Yeah, I can't remember where we're driving, but so we're gonna have this little drive video, and we'll chat over that and have a bit more of a candid discussion, kind of off record, which is gonna be quite fun. Matua says,
I do go live on TikTok when I'm at, I guess, a game every now and then.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. So, Matua X is one of our Patreon. He posts sometimes some of his TikTok videos on our secret Patreon Facebook group, which is just for the Patreons. Yeah, it's really it's a lot of fun. And I think a few of you guys which are on TikTok are following him, which I think is pretty cool.
You said Jim.
On the gym. Oh, wow. Okay.
Ooh, show all those. Big,
no, I don't like watching people at the gym. I hate it because I'm always kind of like I should do
Makes
that.
Me self-conscious.
I know. It's the worst kind of videos, right? It's kind of like I should do it, but I really do not want to. So that's the thing. I'm against that. But So yeah, that's one of the things. But yeah, ooh, and this week we're planting some trees. That's gonna be fun on Patreon. You guys are gonna see us planting trees.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, that's gonna be
Going
quite
to
cool.
our local community planting day.
Yeah.
There's often, every town in New Zealand often has like a community planting day where there's like...
We will plant native bush
Yeah.
in some areas which have been desolated by human people bad.
And also, it's in our area, it's usually planting happens alongside the waterways because trees and native plants are usually good filters for
Yeah.
filtering out all the nasty stuff before it reaches the waterways.
So yeah, that's gonna be a lot of fun. All right, guys. See you next week for the bird. Oh yeah, what Jill is gonna ask. What's the thing for next week? We're gonna be talking about some very noteworthy kind of native birds of New Zealand. We'll pick obviously some, but yeah, that's gonna be a lot of fun.
Probably tell you where you can see them as well. I imagine that's what we'll do. So yeah.
Yeah, we haven't prepared it. We just chose the theme. That was it.
So yeah, take a look at that too.
And Sherry's right. They're good for erosion too. Yeah,
Yes.
their root system is actually holding on the ground better, so they stop from the soil from being washed away, which is really good. Nice. All right, everybody. Bye bye. See you next week.
See ya. Bye.